Second take. It always takes a little bit of a while to warm up the old vocal cords after you haven't had any human contact for 48 hours. But yes, it is a sad day, my friends. That title is not clickbait. We had a good run, but the untrimmed runecrafting cape is no more, crushed under the inevitable march of progress. We got a second 99 skill maxed on the account, which automatically adds the trimming to all skill capes in your possession once you have more than one. And now the public at large has no way of knowing that I took the time to stubbornly and autistically grind out runecrafting as the number one priority. Let's take a brief moment while we reflect back. It was pretty inevitable that hit points was going to be the second 99 on the account. I mean, you get a little bit of hit points experience with every combat style. So no matter what you're training, you're constantly getting levels. Actually, if you use a cannon and you deliver the... No, shut up. Hit points goes up pretty much whenever you're training, so it's no surprise it's the second 99. And we have still been down with the Dagannoth, maxed out in prayer gear, using the Dragon's Gimme to train up combat experience, hoarding the seed drops, stacking them in the seed box, and trying to stay on top of the farm runs as well. For all the reasons I went over in my last video, Dagannoth AFKing is still the meta of choice. It's just been allowing me to focus on other things in my life because it is just so AFK and it is quite useful. This is what allowed us to train up Herblore even closer, getting approaching that juicy level 84 that will importantly allow us to boost to make the final restoration pool in the player-owned house, which restores pit points. I won't go too deep with this because I don't think it's all that interesting, to be honest, or that obscure knowledge. But training Herblore on an Ultimate Iron Man is probably one of the skills where you need to take into account being a UIM the most. It's got some fairly specialized training methods. Old Mate at the Grand Exchange allows you to decant all your potions in your inventory. For most accounts, this is just a nice quality of life time saver. You don't need to sort out all your potion doses, but for UIM, it's an absolute game changer. Since when they decant the doses, the potions were also automatically noted. And as you may or may not know, on this account, I cannot use a bank. So any game mechanic that allows you to note items is incredibly overpowered. Then you have the bankers at the Grand Exchange. You can unnote stacks of any secondaries you might have. You can use the Entity Hider plugin to hide the dozens of bots and the one or two actual real players hanging out at the Grand Exchange, so you can see what you're doing clearer. And interesting enough, by default, the plugin will hide players, but not any of their pets, which visually looks kind of interesting because you have all of these pets running around and no one leading them. At the time of recording, I haven't tried Mixology, which is the new Herblore minigame that came out with Valinor Part 2. I understand removes the need to have a lot of the potion secondaries when training. I do intend to try it at some point, especially as we level up and the Herblore grind becomes even more significant and time consuming. So it's definitely on the radar. For the time being, though, we're just continuing to use Newt Eyes at the Grand Exchange, just as our forefathers intended and their forefathers before them. And then the other thing I've been doing over the last few weeks when I haven't just been either AFKing or potion training is I've been doing some more Barrows. Firstly, because the armor upgrade will be useful just to have some decent tank gear. Secondly, some of the bonus effects for having the full sets would actually be quite useful. Particularly something like Guthans. You also need a full set to complete the Mauritania Elite Diaries, which is another sort of long-term-ish goal on the account. Also, a full set and only a full set is storable in the Master Clue stash unit, which is nearby. So if you have a full set, you can store the whole thing, but if you only have 3 pieces, then you can't store any of it. And as you may or may not know, as an Ultimate Iron Man, I cannot use the bank. So being able to store a full set of Barrows would be very useful. So Guthans would be really useful just because the healing bonus would be good for something like AFK Slayer or just Slayer in general. So that was my first choice. But I did end up getting full Verax, which, although not my first choice, is still very useful. It can hit through prayer is the set effect of having all the Verax Praeses, which will come in handy. I know for Cowfight Queen, maybe some other places. I got actually a couple of pieces of Guthans going for it, as well as some Carols, some Arims. In the future, I might need to face the difficult decision of whether I want to go back and do some more Barrows, specifically for the other 2 Guthans pieces. For now, though, I'm pretty happy with the Verax. And as I mentioned in an earlier episode, apart from the armor itself, just doing the Barrows runs is useful because you get a lot more commonly than any of the unique drops, is you get the rune rewards from doing the chests. Particularly death runes, which will be very useful when I finally get around to doing Barrage Slayer. But the blood runes to help me break even with what I'm casting, and the chaos runes as well. Actually, with the tens of thousands of chaos runes that I've been looting, I was able to trade them into the Tsar Magic shop for Tokkul, which I could then use to buy an uncut onyx, which I could use to make an amulet of Fury, which is an overall nice upgrade over the Glory. And in some ways, for me, the Fury might even be the best amulet in the game, just for general use. I mean, there's the Zenite jewelry with higher bonuses in specific styles, but these come with negative stats in what you're not using them for. So yeah, good for just kind of general use. As you may or may not know, I cannot use a bank, so having a single amulet that I don't need to worry about switching is incredibly handy. And of course we can wear the melee amulet to increase our stat bonuses while we're slashing at Dagonoths in the catacombs of Korend, making that process ever so slightly more efficient. So we go full circle with that one. Okay, well that's it for this one, boys. The account's progressing, life's progressing. A sincere thank you to anyone who watched, and I'll see you in the next one.